I can't really speak for others, but for me personally, when faced with realities and difficulties when it comes to the improvement of climbing, I tend to find myself that I do not particularly shy away from the challenge or the realities of it, like paying taxes, even though it's not something I particularly want to do. What I mean is I just put my head down and I go to work because I hope to elevate my climbing someday, particularly sooner than later, which was preferable, honestly speaking, for me at least. And so I would like to share 5+1 times that I had of moments that made me a better climber, and in no particular order. Here we go. 1. The first time I went outdoor bouldering. I was a pretty good climber, I thought if I was. I was doing V7 consistently in the gym, and my friend invited me to go try this one V7 outdoor. Cool. I never been outdoor bouldering at the time and went along. Little did I know, indoor V7 is not like an outdoor V7. I proceeded to realize my fingers were way too weak for this. It felt like all the bouldering training that I have ever been doing indoors was completely utterly useless for outdoor climbing, especially again the finger strength aspect. At that moment I realized I needed way more finger strength, and so I did go about acquiring more finger strength through various means and methods, and now I'm at a point in time where indoor and outdoor bouldering are just different types of climbing, and I can see myself improving on both simply by doing one or the other if I desire. I no longer see outdoor bouldering as a foreign concept, it's just a different flavor, and this perspective really helped shift my mindset when it comes to training and climbing as a whole by broadening it to see the bigger picture. Because an indoor climb placed outside could be very difficult, and an outdoor climb placed inside could become very easy. I realize it's not indoor or outdoor that makes you a better climber, but how much effort you put into your craft that dictates the progression you will have. 2. Fancy meeting you here, Mr. Moonboard. The very first time I touched this baddest of the boys, I was climbing gym V5s pretty decently at the time. I loaded up the app and hopped on a V3, and at the time I was wondering, how hard can a V3 be? I later realized, very hard. Man, on the Moonboard is where I learned what the term sandbagging was. For the uninitiated, sandbagging is where you grade a climb easier than what it actually is. Doesn't sound like a big problem, right? However, if you ever touch the Moonboard, you very quickly realize some of these 3s are like 5s and some of these 5s are like 8s. And so I elected to spend 2 weeks doing nothing but Moonboarding and trying to chip away at the V3 benchmarks. I think by the end of these 2 weeks, I managed to do roughly 20 of them. This one problem called Moonboard Mistress shut me down for like 3 sessions in a row, and I just finally had enough of this moonboarding shenanigan. But I came back several months later and crushed the rest of the benchmarks. And then when my Moonboard switched over to the 2019 set, I crushed all the V3 benchmarks in like 90 minutes at the end of like a 3-hour climbing session. So the thing that I very much like to use the Moonboard for is a strength check. And the fact that the problems are always going to be the same, no matter how much time passes, really allows for a fair measurement of strength. And every few months, I come back on the Moonboard and I crush the previous problems that gave me trouble. They just no longer hold that type of strength over me, which is a great feeling. And this is a particularly fun way of accountability for me in that sense. 3. I may not look like it, but I'm a pretty sore loser. I get into my head quite a bit when I lose at climbing. Specifically, my friend and I made a climbing bet on who can send the hardest climb during a climbing trip, and I unfortunately lost. And then I proceeded to concoct one of the sickest training arcs ever known to mankind. And every time I lose at something like this, it seems like I just keep leveling up my training, which in consequence levels me up as a climber. And I'm not gonna lie, it is frustrating seeing people who don't train nearly half as much as you just be so much better than you. And then I always realize and I tell myself, ain't nobody trying to hear that. Because natural genetics can only take you so far. Plenty of climbers enter a high level of climbing relatively quickly and then they stop progressing for one reason or another. All my progress has been slow, but it has never stopped because I've never stopped trying to improve. For me, it's a matter of time and I will become a great climber and not an if. At least that's how I think it is currently speaking. 4. I remember the day I sat down and said I was going to do a V10. At this time, I've never done a V10 before. At this time, I wasn't physically or mentally ready to do a V10. At this time, I couldn't wait any longer. At this time, waiting meant accepting that I cannot become better at my own will, and that was totally unacceptable. So I spent 9 or was it 10 sessions falling off this one boulder, and it's really funny to me thinking about it now because it wasn't like I knew I could do it. No, all I knew was that it was going to be hard and that it will never be easy. To accept the fact that the road to progression only gets harder very quickly prepared me for the ordeal ahead of me. I knew it was hard, I just didn't realize how hard it was to be, but I got it eventually. And this, without a shadow of doubt, proved to me you can still be better if you only just try harder. And now I try to try as hard as I possibly can. I still struggle with it somewhat though. 5, my first V7. This moment was like the tipping point for me. The metaphorical fork in the path, failure to send the path led down to evidence that I was just all talk and no walk despite how hard I trained. And success meant I am walking the correct direction of forwards. I remember I battled this boulder for about 4 to 5 hours. I was in the zone, or what I like to call, I don't care if my tendons snap, if the sun goes down, if I have to walk by myself all the way back to camp, I am doing this boulder. Nothing is more important to me than this. Everything can go up in flames and I will still be here sleeplessly, tirelessly doing this boulder. The boulder was very fortunate that it only took me approximately 4 to 5 hours to do. Otherwise, I would have worn down the rock to the size of a pebble by constantly slapping and crimping it. I had no love or joy in me, just the sheer will to crush this climb to prove to me that I was good enough. I had to be good enough. If I wasn't good enough today, then tomorrow would never come. And my body was in the craziest zone of its life. I've yet to have another moment like this. Each attempt was max out effort, and yet I put up around 30 plus max effort attempts. I want to say my mental state at the time compensated for my body's fatigue that had gone to the wayside while I was projecting this boulder. Because the next day, yeah, I barely got up a V1 and I was done by the day. Could not climb anymore. 6, I stopped thinking I was weak. Sometimes we put limits on ourselves by comparing ourselves to others and talking all about our deficiencies. I stopped doing that a long time ago and I just started focusing on what I was really good at. And I was good at training and possessed impeccable consistency. I was immaculate at structuring my life to maximize my climbing potential. A lot of people, when presented with an opportunity for fun, will say yes in exchange for training time. I am not in the slightest. I choose both. And if that's not an option, I choose training. I'm a pretty boring individual in the sense that I don't care about anything except the things I care about. I want to climb hard climbs. I don't care about anything else. I don't care. If it doesn't improve my climbing or state of mind to help me climb, I don't care. But I don't want to make it sound like I don't care about things, but generally speaking, I'm always my biggest priority, and if I don't pursue my goals, I get this incredible sense of anxiety and I simply cannot ignore it. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't poke. My mental clarity is too clear for me to just ignore the problems or drown it in something else. I have to eliminate the anxiety so I can live in a lazy, luxurious life full of climbing. That's a tad bit more underlying nuance to that, but that's enough for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, partner.